Here and Now, the program featuring the news and interests of the African American community. Here's your host, Sandra Bookman.
Small businesses in our area devastated by the COVID-19 pandemic may get the lifeline they need. Two minority-led banks will each receive $1.8 million in federal economic relief funds to lend to businesses in underserved communities. Here to tell us more is the president and CEO of Carver Federal Savings Bank, Michael Pugh. Nice to see you again.
It's great seeing you. Thanks for taking the time with me.
Yeah, it's been a while, and we have had quite a year. And I guess nobody has been hit harder than really small businesses during the course of this pandemic. Talk to me a little bit about why it is that small businesses, really in underserved communities, mostly communities of color, have had an even harder time than some other businesses.
Yeah, it really is an important question. And I think it's the short answer to a complex question is that for many small businesses, particularly within the Black and Brown communities, African American, Latinx community, they've been short on capital. And so if your starting point or your baseline is much less than your counterparts that are entrepreneurs across other communities and groups, then you have less bandwidth to withstand troubled times. And that shortage of capital speaks to a broader issue that frankly we have been talking about and frankly trying to solve, which is wealth generation and generational wealth. So the ability to accumulate earnings over a period of time that certainly can be passed down throughout your family and help your businesses to thrive.
Certainly, these federal economic relief funds that we're talking about are really an acknowledgement of the fact that these businesses, as you're kind of pointing out, kind of start off from behind a lot of times. They're working as hard as they can to get up the hill, so they need a little extra help. So you've gotten Carver Federal Savings Bank and Ponce Bank $1.8 million plus in federal economic relief funds for some of these small businesses. Let me ask you, are these loans? Are these grants? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So frankly, the federal programs that are being made available will supply the capital that's needed to the financial institutions like Ponce and Carver Federal Savings Bank for us to think about loans and grant initiatives that will be made available. And I would submit that there will be a combination of both. As we think about loans, we certainly see that as an important way to provide access to capital and help from a credit building standpoint for small business entrepreneurs to ensure that they build the credit muscles needed to demonstrate that they have a credit history and pattern that allows them to qualify for future access to capital. And grants, as we think about mission and impact and supporting small businesses, will be a critical component of this. And just to pull on that thread a bit, there was a study from Statista or a report that indicated more than 40% of small businesses across the country that were Black-owned small businesses would be at the brink of failure, or they've already closed their doors related to this pandemic. When we think about the women entrepreneur segment, we know that women entrepreneurs are growing at a very fast pace, specifically for Black women. Mm-hmm. They are the second fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs across the country, but they are the last in terms of income generation. So as you think about these relief programs, they are by design intended to help support the underserved community that's often been forgotten about when you think about access to capital. And that capital is frankly what's needed in order to help these small businesses recover, restart, thrive on the other side of this pandemic.
Yeah, and by turn and in turn help their communities
Absolutely.
to thrive. So let's talk about what small businesses are qualified for these loans. The size of the businesses. Who are these loans grants targeted to?
Yeah. So the Small Business Administration typically identifies small businesses to be businesses with 500 or less employees. What we know in the communities that we serve, Carver, we're hyper local. We have 7 branches. 4 of them are in Brooklyn, 2 in Harlem, and 1 in Queens. We know that in those communities, many of the small businesses are really 20 or less employees.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you kind of think about that, those businesses are under-resourced in terms of having, in many cases, accountants, attorneys, IT, strategy people, folks that can all really kind of come together and help them think broader about this recovery, thrive environment that frankly, they need to be focused on. Our intent is to hone in on those small businesses, really 20 or less employees, and help them navigate through this really tough time.
Yeah, these really small businesses are the ones a lot of times that will fall through the cracks. So how soon are we talking about seeing some of these funds dispersed?
Well, I think within the next 30 to 45 days, we'll be in a position to really start dispersing the funds. There's still a little bit of a process that we've got to go through to finalize and actually get the money that can then be deployed in the communities that we serve. But we know it's on its way. And the good news is that we have a 72 plus year history of lending in our community, and especially focusing on women and minority business entrepreneurs. So once this additional capital is received, we'll be able to put it to work very fast.
And that's really the great thing about a bank like Carver or Ponce getting this kind of federal funding, because you know who needs the help and how to help them most efficiently in your communities.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's a fair statement. We found that through this pandemic, many customers came to us that have perhaps in the past relied on much larger financial institutions because of access and convenience of bank branch locations or a broader range of digital technology. And so they may have chose their bank relationship for those reasons in the past. But what they learned through the pandemic was that those institutions, while serve a very important place in our nation and certainly within the banking sector as a whole, weren't necessarily prepared or equipped to spend the time hand-holding many of our small businesses and getting them across the finish line. So one example is the Paycheck Protection Program. We found that we were able to develop a number of small business relationships because those entrepreneurs came to us and said, you know, hey, we've heard about this program. We need help. How do we get started? And everyone, including myself on the Carver team, were involved in step-by-step helping those customers. The result was we were able to put more than $45 million in access to capital to small businesses across greater New York City, more than 5,000 jobs that were preserved as a result of that. And then if you even think about fintech partnerships with other fintech partners that were minority-based to provide more than 16,000 small business loans during the pandemic at a national level. So you're spot on when you say, you know, that we know how to do this, and community development financial institutions like Carver and Ponce really are, it's part of our mission and purpose to make sure that we do this well.
And should we send folks to carverbank.com to find out more information about how to get this process started?
Absolutely, carverbank.com, and we will have a lot of information out there about our history, the work that we do with lending, and we've got a team on standby and ready to help.
All right. Michael Pugh, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for your hard work in the community. didn't just start decades of hard work in community building, and you're appreciated.
Thank you. My pleasure. It was good seeing you.
You too.